Hey everybody, JJ here, back again with another Wednesday of Zoom networking. Thanks for joining us. We have two unbelievably awesome young people here today to speak with us. Their topic is turning impossible deals into profits. Um, I've had the pleasure to enjoy a baseball game with these folks on opening day in Dallas. I love going to ballparks. You guys know I love sports. But I'd like to introduce my two good friends, Damien Michalosky and Evelyn Garcia, as we're going to talk about turning impossible deals into profits. How you guys doing?
Doing awesome. Thank you.
So,
Fantastic.
Evelyn, for those that don't know you, where in the country you located?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Aha. You guys got a baseball team over there, don't you?
Yes, the Cyclones.
Well, I was thinking more
Mhm.
of the Yankees, but
The yeah,
Not the
what
Dodgers.
what Brooklyn Cyclones, but
oh,
I'm
the Brooklyn
definitely
Cyclone. No, I
Yankees.
guess it's the Bronx. The
The
Yankees are in the Bronx.
Bronx,
Well,
yes.
we all know where the Red Sox are at, though, don't we, Damien?
Yeah, Boston, of course, my hometown.
Your hometown, yeah. So we got a little bit of the New England mix going on here with New York and Boston.
Yep.
I didn't know about the Cyclones, but that's good to know.
Yeah, they play in
Mhm.
Coney Island. It's
How
named after the Cyclone roller coaster.
how cool is that? Yeah, I love me some baseball. So, guys, we're going to talk to you about turning impossible deals into profits. You guys are a business team. You guys work together.
Yeah, for
Yep.
4 years now. More than 4 years.
So,
Yep.
2.5. Yep.
you know, Evelyn, what kind of company do you have, and what do you guys do?
So right now we have a transaction coordination business. We've been running it for almost 3 years. We have seven fantastic TCs with us, and we just been closing deals nationwide, and we are so happy to help investors close those impossible deals.
Awesome. I got a question for you, Damien. Um, we have people on the call. Some are brand new. Some have been around doing this for a long, long time. For those that don't know, what is a TC? And what is a TC? What is a TC? What does a TC do? For those
Okay.
who don't know.
So a TC is a transaction coordinator, right? So what we do is we sort of the best way to explain it is where your back office. So a typical wholesaler or anyone for that matter can get a deal under contract, and then after that we take over. And we take over everything, the communications, the paperwork. We review the paperwork. Oh, you're missing this. You should have this extra disclosure. Maybe you need a Spanish addendum because you're dealing with somebody who
Right?
doesn't speak English and it's a complicated deal and you don't want them to say, "Hey, I don't know what I'm signing." But we deal with everybody's attorneys, lenders, buyers, sellers. We normalize the process. So there's a lot of times with that with the creative deals, people are like, what are you talking about taking over the payments?" And people confuse it with assumption, and we get on, we totally make it normalized. Sometimes we're showing people HUDs. I've had other sellers that I've worked with get on the phone with our client sellers to say, it's like, hey, this actually works. Like Damien fixed my credit and he's making making the payments all the time. So that's what a transaction coordinator. We're actually special transaction coordinators because we work with the creative side of things. We're not the transaction coordinator that you would see embedded in like a Keller Williams team, right? We're more than that. And we also do consulting on writing contracts. So the transaction coordination doesn't start until you go under contract, but we'll help people for a half-hour fee of $50. Usually it's $100 for an hour,
Let
and
me ask
then
you
we
a question.
until we
You
get the
mentioned
contract.
something right off. You mentioned something right off the bat that really caught my ear. Um, you mentioned something about the addendum in Spanish. I mean, I've got a tenant out here in LA. His predominant language is Spanish and has to have his kids actually translate for him. But how does that work? I mean, do they just have an addendum saying I understand everything that's written in English, or do you also provide the whole document in Spanish as well? Or
Yes. So you do the document in English, like the mortgage. Say if it's a mortgage and promissory note, you
yeah.
would do that in English. Then you would do that in Spanish, and then you'd have another affidavit saying, I understand what I'm signing and stuff like that. And that would be in Spanish as well. too.
Okay. Now, I always talk about, as a lot of us always talk about, having an attorney to review our documents. So we have a, we don't all do contracting or or rehabs, but if we did, we ideally have a contractor that we work with, possibly a real estate attorney, possibly an accountant, a bookkeeper, and we comprise our team of different professions. Would you recommend if someone is going to partake in something like this and they speak a different language that they have an attorney who speaks their primary first language?
Yes, and who's ever running the deal should make that happen too, because you want to make sure they understand what they're signing, and especially if they're operating within their own name and not in an LLC or
Yeah.
anything like that. Or if it's someone that's a home, homestead buyer or a homestead seller selling their house, because they're not in the industry and they seriously might not understand what they're signing for real. And that's like one of the first you know, things that are brought up if there's some kind of lawsuit. Well, you can say you didn't understand what you're signing, right? But now if they speak another language, we have the Spanish addendums to the actual documents, and then we have an affidavit in Spanish saying you understand what you're signing, like we're covered there. So
Yeah, I mean, that only makes sense because it's hard enough for most people that don't speak another language to understand in English what they're signing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Very true.
Do you find a lot of people do or do not use real estate attorneys to help them review their documents? I mean, people would say, well, that's what a TC is for.
Yes.
What is your
So
take on that's what a TC is for versus have an attorney?
Okay, so we're not attorneys and we're not accountants. But it's funny, it's very regional. Now in Pennsylvania, nobody seems to want to use attorneys, right? And even in Pennsylvania, title companies like usually don't have an attorney on staff. They write out the deed themselves. That's one of the few states that allow title agents to write out the deeds. And then you have New Jersey, which is in North Jersey and New York City. Everybody uses an attorney. But now in South Jersey, they more like the Pennsylvania folks, right? Because they're closer to
Yeah.
Philadelphia. Um, and they don't use attorneys down there in South Jersey too much. But
Okay.
it's very regional, I would say.
To piggyback up about their attorney, a lot of people just depend on the title company to have all the closing documents at the end, and they just sign, and they depend very heavily on them. And surprisingly, is a lot of them hire a third party organization to type up these documents, these notes, and everything that does not even like coincide with the transaction. It's
Yeah.
very standardized templates, and like I have seen stuff like a note that is for an investor, and they draft off an FHA note, and it's just
Yeah.
crazy things like this. And this is why you need a TC, because we read all these notes and we understand what you need in these notes.
So just because they have an attorney doesn't mean that attorney is going to specialize in the specific documents that would apply
Yes,
to each respective transaction.
because most of them use templates.
Yeah. And so it's actually beneficial for one, yes, to have an attorney to review stuff, but it's beneficial to know that you have a TC in place that knows the documents, knows the transaction, can make sure everything's there. And then at that point in time, the attorney just comes in and goes, yeah, it looks good. Is that kind of how that works?
Sometimes.
Yes, kind of.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
sometimes.
But
Hopefully, yeah.
but also like I'd like to add too is like we've seen so many documents coming through and we know the questions to ask because a lot of times too if the client doesn't know what questions to ask the attorney will leave it out like so for example like a note to on a commercial deal, right, should have a confession of judgment and it should have an assignment of rents on in there.
Wow.
And a lot of attorneys like don't know about that, or it's like I bring it up and they're like, oh yeah, that's great to have,
Great
and then
idea. Yeah.
they add it in after the fact because we'll get on the call with our client and the attorney and we'll help talk everything out, like again, and then we preface this as like we're not we're not attorneys ourselves, but we have so much experience that we can just add all this value and maybe ask some questions
Go.
that like our clients normally wouldn't know to ask.
Rose, you are
I'm
on with
good.
Evelyn and
How are
Damien.
you?
What's your question, girl?
So, first of all, I want to say thank you, Damien. I didn't get to say bye to you in Texas because you were like out. And of course, Evelyn.
I couldn't
We
see. I
all
was
love
blind.
Evelyn. Like you were there and then you were gone.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry
no, I
about
just wanted to thank you guys totally. And JJ, my last deal I did in Leesburg, thank God for Belinda, who is part of your team, because she had to go through a lot. I did not realize how much TCs do, but I have to tell you, I've talked to other TCs and they do not do as much as you guys did.
Oh, well.
Just you guys, your team goes over, like beyond what I think a normal TC would do, because I talked to other ones and they're like, this is what we do. It's pretty much cut and dry. But your team, totally beyond, way beyond.
Thank you,
So
thank you,
anybody
thank
out
you.
there, if you're looking for, oh look, there's my partner. No, if you're looking for a TC, they do. They work really, really hard. They work hard for their money. I just never really knew a lot about the TC. Now, I met Evelyn a few years ago, and she had said, you should think about being a TC. And I'm like, I would never. I wouldn't. I would just hire you. Too much work. But yeah, a lot of people will think that you're attorneys and doing all these other things, which you don't. You're not attorneys. You are TCs, but there's a lot that gets thrown at you guys, and you do sort it out. So, like, I never even thought I needed one until I did my first deal, and thank God, because I would have been like, well, like I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm from a hospital world, not a real estate at first. Now it's changing, but yes, I encourage everybody to make sure they use a TC, and then when all these little problems arise, at least you have like a backup there to help you out.
Thanks,
And that is
Rose.
all I have
Thank
to
you,
say.
thank you.
Oh, there is Belinda. Yes, great.
Thank,
Anyway, you guys have a good day.
thank you, Rose. Good to
Thank you.
see you.
You too, JJ.
Mr. David Bolton, you are on with Evelyn and Damien. What's your question?
Thanks, JJ. Evelyn and Damien, pleasure to meet you guys. My question pertains to IRS liens on properties that you're going to buy. Is there such a thing as a list where you can locate IRS liens in, say, bulk form?
Oh, that's a
Yeah,
really good question. Is there?
I don't know.
yeah.
That's
I
what
believe I
Yes,
believe so. But
there
you
is.
have to have a third party like a pop stream
Option probably has
or
that.
something like that. Yeah. You
Oh,
can.
I
I have
see.
a few resources in Florida I could send you, David, where you don't have to.
Oh, great. That'd be super. That'd be good. Okay, thank you. That kind of,
Yep.
but they're out there. You can locate them, right? Without,
That's actually a great
yeah,
list. And they'll just fall right off after you buy them, you know?
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I shouldn't say that. There's a process to get them removed. They
I
don't
mean,
get
if the IRS are after people, it's probably good leads for property purchasing their properties.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
But you can take them subject too, right? Where
yeah.
other people think, because a lot of people think you need to pay that off at closing and you don't,
Mhm.
you know?
Are they forgivable, or is the IRS pretty firm on that?
Oh, well, they're attached to the person. So it doesn't
Oh,
even matter. Like if you're buying their house, as long as you know the process. So like I'll take anybody's house and leave the IRS lien on there. And then, in a few months, if they're still there, just there's a process that you go through to remove the IRS lien. I don't know it because I never did it myself, but we have very close friends that have done it. So, and I have a friend. I just talked to him the other day about it. He had an IRS lien removed while doing a short sale in the middle of the short sale. So at the
Wow.
end of the short sale, when they closed, the IRS lien was already removed off the property. And basically, he's like, "Hey, we're doing a short sale, which we're, shorting all the liens, we'd like to remove this IRS lien." And he said he would send me the links. He hasn't done it yet, but there's a couple days. So
oh, that'd be great to know
yeah,
that. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
And David, at the end of the call, I'm going to be asking Damien and Evelyn how anyone on the call, either live right now or watching weeks and months, can follow up with them. So they'll be providing contact info should you want to connect with them later on.
Thank you.
You are welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Troy Caudell, you are up with Damien and Evelyn. What's your question?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I have two questions. What was your probably most difficult deal that you have successfully completed?
Good question. It's so many. It's just like
There's so
all
many
of
of
them.
them. Yeah.
Well, how many
It's so
years you guys
funny
been
because
doing this? You guys what, 20, 50, 100, 200?
Oh,
You
how
guys,
many deals have we done?
yeah, you've done
we
what,
are
Like,
we are to
300?
close to 300. But you know what the
that's
funny thing
yeah.
is that some of them are you just expect it to be the most easiest transaction ever, and they come out to be the most difficult. And a lot of people say, well, the cash deals are so simple, but it's that we will never know until we get the title search back and get the title commitment of what requirements that is needed to close this deal. Um, the most difficult is when I think I think it was I think it was in the one because we couldn't just find Delaware. Delaware was very difficult. We just couldn't find an attorney actually to even close this up to deal until the very
Oh,
end.
right. I remember that.
That one was the most difficult because we couldn't even close it. We couldn't find an attorney in Delaware. So if anybody's here in Delaware, but we have one now. So if you need to close this up too, we have their attorney. We made a great connection with an attorney in Delaware, but that was the most difficult one because every attorney that we spoke with, they didn't want to touch a sub two transaction. And they were telling us, good luck in trying to find someone here because we all have gotten together and we all made a pact that we are not touching these type of deals. But we did find one. I guess that was the most difficult one. I don't know.
I got to throw this in there too because Terra Abstract, I use them in Pennsylvania, and they'll do Delaware. So we were trying to use them, and they were like, hey, well, since it was in pre-foreclosure, they were like, hey, like the trustee attorney on the foreclosure, that's a partner of ours. We can't take this deal. But if they didn't know the attorney, they would have taken it. So like any roadblock,
That it was true.
it was just roadblock after roadblock on that deal. Yeah.
So most of them are pretty smooth. I'm sure something
No,
comes up all the time.
no, they're all crazy. So we do like I said, it's like we do like creative TC work. So we're constantly running into sellers that like the sellers will even ghost because they get nervous about the subject too. So we're constantly getting on the phone with them trying to normalize it. And I mean, like I just got on a call with somebody like from 3 years ago, and I had to actually send him my DTI letter. Right now, this is a seller who is not our client that our client bought their property subject to, right? And so he's calling my cell phone three years later to help him re-explain the DTI letter and how to explain that to the loan officer giving him a car loan. And so I did that, and he goes, "Would you mind getting on a call with the loan officer at the car loan?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I actually like this stuff. This is like a hobby to me, and it makes good conversation too when we're talking about our business. But the level of difficulty with these things and the questions that we get over the years, like things still happen, and like like people want to get loans and they want to buy houses and they have these questions like, hey, I have this thing on my credit. How do I present this to get this removed from my DTI calculation? So yeah, so these are all very interesting and difficult. It's hard to say which is the most.
Okay. Troy, did that answer your question?
Well, I had a second one.
All right, bring it.
Coming from different backgrounds, what would you say would be the one thing you wish you had learned first getting into real estate?
I'm gonna give you my three. Is actually having the right mindset. That you could possibly do anything that you want. Um, having a really strong mindset is very powerful. Um, wholesaling. If people want to do wholesaling, please start it in your backyard. You'll be super successful if you start in your backyard. If I knew that, I probably would have been very successful here in Brooklyn. Um, Number three is what, and I'm gonna be really sincerely honest. I'm not saying this because I am here in JJ's meeting, is what JJ is teaching. People need to know you and not you know them. Communicate with wanting to genuinely get to know the person. And those are my three tops that I wish I knew.
Thank you very much.
Damien,
Speaking of,
is there anything
You're
for
welcome.
you that
Hey, you want
stands
to put
out,
anything in?
Damien? I'm sorry.
yeah, I'll add to that. I want to tell you what my marketing budget is because of groups like JJ's and how he teaches networking. So this, you probably maybe can't see it. So I have the family plan. I got my aunt, and my kid on there. It comes out to 267 a month, right? So I like my phone constantly just rings and texts for deals. Like I don't do any marketing for deals. Like to get my own properties. Like I don't have to buy lists and call anyone or text anyone. And that was part of the reason when like why we could pivot into transaction coordination when we did. But like another thing too is like the way I started, like I was at work and there was a guy buying a multifamily and I was ready to move out of my mother's house. This is going back 23 years ago. And so he's like, "Oh yeah, so I'm gonna buy this house and it's gonna pay for me. I'm gonna live for free." And I'm like, "Oh, I want to do that." So I bought a condo and I just rented out the room. I didn't know I was house hacking or anything like that. And then, I got a HELOC and I bought another condo and I thought I was long distance investing. So the first one was in Boston. The other one was in Providence, and everybody was like, "Oh, what do you want to buy a property in Providence? That'll take you forever to get to. How do you manage it?" I mean, it's like it's only an hour away, right? And now I have properties that I have to take planes to, and I self-manage the one of them in Georgia too, and then I have to take a plane to get to it. But yeah, so for me, it was just really, just getting around people doing the thing and saying like, "Hey, this makes sense." And it took me 15 years to pay for education, which is not a good idea. I suggest that you get education early, but definitely don't rely 100% on education. Don't rely on one source of education. You know, Mitch Jaworski in here, he's with Alchemist Nation. That's a good group. I learned a lot there. You got Sub Two, and then Co-Re, which I'm in, Investor Schooling. Shout out to Phil Falcone, who's semi-retired. He's a great teacher. But if I had did that earlier, I would have been way farther ahead than what I did. But I would just say like, network and just jump into it, you
Yeah.
know. So
Right.
Absolutely networking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Troy. Good to see you. Mr. Calvert Ackland, you are on with Damien and Evelyn. What's your question?
Hey, it's good to see you guys again. Thank you, Evelyn, for that shout out you gave me the other day. I really do appreciate it. So my question
You're
to
welcome.
you is this. Since you've done the 300 transactions, I believe you said, or over, um, what are the subtle red flags that you see that may kill a deal? And how does a transaction coordinator help to get around those challenges?
You
I
want to
can,
answer or answer? I could tell you my number one red flags is communication.
yes,
If it's not being communicated right and having transparency and or like with your seller, your buyer, your attorney, even with us as your TC, if you're not communicating correctly, then that's a red flag right there. It's you have to have everything out in the open. um we kind of like your attorney, so it's like if like if you are being indicted for like something criminal, you got, even if you committed a crime, you have to let us know because we're on your side and we have to like maneuver the
Yeah.
transaction for it to be saved in the right way. So communication, definitely.
yep, and that was mine too. And then, sometimes if people are ghosting in and out, you really got to
Mhm.
pull them in and and get them back in because that's a lot of times they're, like if it's a seller, they start getting nervous and they start talking to other people. This happens a lot with creative deals and people in distress and stuff like that. And then they try to back out, but as long as you keep in constant, communication with them and stuff like that, like it'll normalize everything for them where people are nervous, and that'll keep the deal going to the closing table. And you have to enforce too that sometimes that, hey, you're in a legally binding contract at this point. Sometimes we're past the inspection period, and
Yeah.
and you gotta focus to the closing and stuff. And
All right, thank
Do
you.
I have to tell them I'm assigning this contract? Yes, you have to tell them you're assigning those type of things that it has to be like communicated. And
yeah,
that's a red flag.
Awesome, awesome. I appreciate you guys. Keep up the
You're
great
welcome.
work.
Howard, thank you so much. So let me ask you really quick on the assignment thing. I mean, I know that people talk about having an assignment clause, and could one not call to have the seller initial right next to that I am initialing that I'm initialing the assignment clause is acceptable? I mean, although it needs to be communicated verbally, it's still important that it's in the contract, right?
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Those words have to be on the contract for it to be assignable. You cannot
Now,
assign a contract that doesn't have those words in there.
I know on a couple of my leases with my tenants, I've got commercial properties. And I mean, they literally have to specifically sign, no flammable liquids, no ammunition, no live animals, but something like that for the assignment. Do you have a little signature box specifically for that? Like you are specifically acknowledging, not just signing the bottom of that. Because if I have a 10-page lease, they're initially in every single page. But if something on one of those pages is even more specific, would one consider possibly wanting to have that assignment clause initialed specifically?
I actually would prefer that. And there's going to be a lot of new regulations and laws coming out for wholesalers. Um, and there's a lot of states that's coming out that you need to be licensed. Pennsylvania just started in January.
Okay.
Um, so the more transparent you are, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, but everybody, it's just like it's amazing because everybody expect, especially a lot of us is here from sub two community, to use the sub two contract. But I'm in the real world. I have investors from every state, from every avenue, and every contract is different.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
we just have one standard, but everybody has their different, and you have to use what you feel comfortable with. Like there's not one right contract out there. The right contract is the one that you could explain to anyone.
There you go. How are you, my friend?
Hey, how you doing there, JJ?
Good. You're on with Damien and Evelyn. What's your question?
Sure, sure. So, I just want to paint the picture. I'm in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and there are four bases here. So, being that there's all Marines here and everybody's on VA loans. So, my dilemma here is most of the agents are saying, well, you can't come in and take over the existing mortgage because it's going to hurt the seller's entitlement or not entitlement benefits because the entitlement here, the entitlement here is $806,500. Didn't know that for Onslow County, and that might be nationwide. In some areas, it might be over $1 million. But they don't say that. But what I'm trying to say is, being that everybody's mostly on VA, and if your strategy is going to be sub two taking it over, how do you still do that and make the seller or agent feel comfortable about that? And because I understand that you have to be in the home 1 year as a owner if you're going to buy the property. But if you would just tell me, because I want to attack it on either y'all's strategy, because I'm kind of getting stumped there because of that.
I actually have a really good way, but it's going to be it's one. I'll explain it to you in two different forms. One is going to be maybe going to be super complicated for you and a lot of people, and one might be normal. So you can make a deal with them and just say like, hey, when you go and like look to purchase your next property, you might need like, hey, 20 grand of your entitlement to be released to you. I'll just come up and I'll sign something or just promise that I will pay you 20 grand. And if you like, maybe I'll stick 20 grand in escrow for a little while or something like that if it makes you feel more comfortable. Um, that would be the first way I would explain it. Second way I would
Mhm.
explain it, if you really want to get technical, right? Instead of doing a naked sub two, right? You do a sub two with a wraparound mortgage, and the seller stays in as the owner of the wraparound mortgage note, and the seller can actually sell either the full note wrap note, and they can actually sell it as a performing first position. And what happens is that when they sell the note, it'll pay off the underlying VA loan, right? Or they could also sell partial payments of the note. So say they just have to clear $20,000 and they actually like having the note. Maybe there's some arbitrage with the interest rate or something like that going on where they like to keep the note. They can sell a number of payments. They say like 3 years worth of payments, and that will bring them down the $20,000 they need to get back their entitlement. I know that went a little bit over your head, but
No,
it's
no, that's good. I
okay.
understand that. Yeah, because if I was to just come out right out and say that, well, that's fine if I put it in my name and then we find out how much is left of their entitlement, then I could cut them a check every month to pay it back or give them a lump sum on certain like 6 months, 3 months, or something like that to pay them back that entitlement for that home. I don't know. Does that sound good?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can get like super creative with it. Um,
Wow, I never,
or
yeah.
yeah, I mean, or you could do this too. You could loan them 20. So how would you secure it? You could loan them like $20,000 and then have them pay it back to you over time as well too. But you wouldn't get the security really until they bought their house. So it would be like sort of like a headless note, unless they had other investment properties. You can get the mortgage tied to that. So a little bit complicated there, but yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound, I mean, if I can get them to understand that I can pay them their entitlement, because once, I guess what I'm understanding is once I get it in my name, let's say, then the entitlement benefits are in my business name. So we can work out an agreement in the contract that whatever's left of the entitlement can go towards, I guess, even if the home, right? Is that correct or not? Because the
No,
entitlement could be as much
the
as,
entitlement doesn't go to you. It stays with the veteran or the active military member.
okay.
Um,
So
but
maybe I'm misunderstanding.
yeah, it's linked to the actual loan itself. So say if
Okay.
say if the loan is $100,000 left on the loan,
Right.
and say that so they have, you mentioned 800,000, right? So say if they have 700,000 to play with, right? So their house they're buying is 750,000. So you'll have to release $50,000 out of the 100,000 so that they can buy that house on a VA loan, basically. But that
Okay.
entitlement doesn't shift to your control or anything. It's still tied to them, and it's tied to the VA loan that's in their name as a borrower. So I think you guys will like this. Maybe you won't. But I like it because I like to be super creative and I don't like to walk away from deals, right? So just as a real estate deal case study, and I'm just calling this one the $1,000 house. So originally a wholesaler brought me this deal. So I like to buy shells in Philadelphia that need major rehab. So for this looks great to me. Like the whole porch has fallen down. You see, like this is like on the sidewalk and stuff, and
Mm.
the there's holes in the ceiling from water damage. The kitchen is just like awkward. There's no cabinets or anything. And it's like this is the perfect house for me. And I wanted this thing. And the numbers really worked. It was 70% rule, right? So he's under contract for 45,000. It was actually, I believe it went down to 40 at one point, but this is the only contract I had found in my archives there. So you see, I do this. So when I buy a property, so this was a either hard money loan, private money, or cash. Basically cash at close. Like I always do the 70% rule here, right? Because this gives you like multiple exits. Like you can burr it out. You have enough money to do a wraparound mortgage and be at 60 to 75% loan to value. And then take a second trailing the wrap. Or you can refi, do the burr strategy, and just like Mitch said, burr is not dead at all. Actually, I know gurus say that's not true. 70% rule worked here. So basically, it's like if those who don't know, you take 70% of the ARV, and then subtract the repair value. It comes to 58, and then you also subtract holding cost or maybe like a little oh crap budget of like 5 to 10 grand. So the title search unraveled 20 grand in unknown liens. Um, so you'll see like this one here is like a $12,000 lien for the water bill here. And then they have multiple judgments and they have additional water liens. Like Philly's a weird city. They'll every few years they'll cut you another lien if you don't pay the water bill, but they never shut the water off. So there's a lot of people that are in distress that water liens show up on. This is a very Philadelphia thing. Other cities I heard it's the electric bill too. So normally this killed the deal. Um, but there were other things to look at, right? So we were just going to pay the loan off. I didn't really know what the loan was. I didn't realize it was 25 of 30. But when we looked into like what we could do to kind of salvage this thing or make this better, and it's like if you guys don't really understand the value of this, I had the amortization schedule here, and if you look really quick, so if you go to year 25, so this payment here is the principal. I'm sorry, is the principal and this is the interest. But then when you go up, you'll see like the interest here in the first few years are way more than the principal. So, and it was funny because I asked the wholesaler, I was like, oh, didn't you know this was year 25? And he goes, yeah, but the interest rate was like 10% or 9% or something, and I didn't think it was good. But people just don't ever, a lot of people don't think of the amortization schedule. Um, so let's get back to this. So seller agreed to do subject to, and instead of doing a full payoff, as long as the loan was brought current, like they were in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure. We actually saved them from foreclosure. All other liens, we just made sure all these other liens could be taken subject to, right? So if you think about like how much cash you would need to close, all that 20 grand, we just took everything subject to, right? So we didn't have to come to cash with a lot. And when I say we, I transferred from the buyer to the wholesaler and TC, and I brought in my friend from New Jersey to be the buyer. He really wanted to get a property in Philly. He was a contractor, so his his cost is a lot cheaper than others would be, right? So basically, because there were so many liens, like you saw. We rewrote the contract to $1,000, and we still gave the seller $1,000 at the end of the day because that was um, the original promise to the seller. But if you look here, I hope you guys can see it. This is the additional term. So the contract price is a thousand, and you go to the end to see the terms. Now I use a two-page contract, and I write all my terms in like freehand, just as if I was having a conversation. Much easier to get it signed at the kitchen table this way, by the way. But I digress. But I just want to show you this. Buyer has reviewed the title report. All liens, encumbrances, judgments will not be paid at settlement and will remain attached to the property and be listed as exceptions on the title insurance policy. Buyer and seller understand the risks. There was an additional affidavit that the title company wanted as well too for the seller. Um, so the new buyer, right? He's from oops, North Jersey. That should be North Jersey, not North Philly. And he was dying to get his hands on his first property. He's been a contractor for other people. Didn't need to qualify for a loan. His buddy came in with the 20 grand to make the sub two loan back performing and take care of the closing costs. Um, so his costs as a GC were a ton lower. So most of the work he did himself, right? And it was a friend of mine, and the original wholesaler was a friend of mine. So when you're doing deals with your friends, you can kind of like maneuver and do these things a lot better. It's so fun working with your friends. And then as you notice, like that was not an assignment, right? On there. So we had my friend go directly with the seller. It just made the contracts a lot easier. And then we invoiced the title company for the assignment fee on that. Um, so it's funny, we broke the Zillow's estimate, and every time I need a laugh or something goes wrong and I just want to see something like really crazy and silly, I just go look, and I always wonder if they fixed the Zestimate calculator worked, or but see, you can see it's $1,000, the contract purchase price on here. And a lot of people ask about the taxes. So it was based on assessor valuation. Ironically, 60,000 was like would have been the same if we added it up anyway. Um, and in this case, there was no gain from, from a tax perspective. Now, I had another one that I'm not going to talk about that the I was buying for $270,000, which was like a hybrid subject to and seller financing. And I did the same thing with the contract purchase price, and I think the contract purchase price was like 30,000 or something on it, and the taxes would have been based on, it didn't close, but the taxes would have been based on a 30,000 tax assessor. So that was like a huge difference, 270 versus 30. Um, that would have been a great deal had it closed. I'll go through this one really, really quick. This is another one that I wanted to show you guys too. So this one is a property I bought myself. So I wasn't the wholesaler. I actually went through and bought it. So this one was a VA loan. I just talked to the gentleman about who was asking about VA loans. Here it is. Single family in Georgia. Sorry, I don't have great picks for that. Um, Now, like, would you buy this deal? Like the PITI on the subject to loan, right, was 1,050, 6% interest rate, right? This is 2022. So 6% was pretty high back then, right? Now the rent was 225 a week. They paid weekly for some reason, and it comes out to like about 900 a month, right? So this guy's losing money. So basically, would you buy this deal, right? It needed a new fence and some replacement vinyl siding, not too much. And it turned out I wound up like fixing the AC. There was no AC duct to one of the bedroom, which is really weird. And the kids were like sweltering at night. So I just fixed that. But anyways, my first strategy was to make this thing an Airbnb. So the numbers probably would have fixed itself there. But when I went in, um, there was a single mom in there with three kids. And so like giving them a home and like taking and making sure they have a good home is a much better service to society than making Damien cash flow on an Airbnb, right? Well, like I can just get another deal. And so like, I like to do this and help them out. But now I'm stuck not cash flowing, right? But look at this. So would you buy this, right? It's year 17 out of 30, right? So what does that mean? In 13 years, I get a house free and clear, right? Year 17, what does that mean too? We just saw the amortization schedule. That means I'm paying more into principal than I am interest. Because if you're in year one, two, three, four, like you're paying way more interest, and it's like you don't even see the needle move on the principal balance. But now, like, even though I don't have cash flow, the principal pay down is massive on this thing, right? Um, I did bump it up like a slight. It's like 950 a month, I think. We did some math, but like I told him when I fix the vinyl siding and the fence, I'm gonna raise the rents. And the irony of it is like they don't care about me fixing the fence, and they were like fine with it. And they've done some things because I've actually like gotten some quotes, and they've done some things to kind of slow the process. And I'm like, okay, I know they don't want me to fix it because they don't want me to raise it. And it's funny when you buy a house and you keep the tenant, you can actually do renovations with the tenant in while you're collecting the rent, by the way. That's a strategy of mine. I love taking tenants over. It's better than even buying them vacant sometimes. But I qualify the tenants too before. Um, we digress a little bit. So it's funny. So also this is the extra bonus. So currently, I'm gonna say Zestimate. I don't know that market the best. It's Kingsland, Georgia, next to Jacksonville, Florida. But the Zestimate went up, so I'm guessing the appraisal value went up from 110 to 180. 2022, I bought in early 2022, and now it's 2025. Raised the rent a tad to 950 a month. And I'll keep it like that. I mean, you don't need to cash flow on everything. I have other properties that cash flow massively, and then I'm picking up a portfolio in New Hampshire where the guy's selling me in seller financing that's going to be break even, and he goes, "We just talked about it's been going on for 2 years, and we just talked about the other day." He goes, "Yeah, I think I can make you cash flow a little bit," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever works," because I have other cash flowing properties, and I'm getting 100% financing on it. I just have to pay closing costs. So sometimes you don't need to cash flow on everything. And I know there's a lot of people that are very obsessed with cash flow. So I like to just show people the other side. And we help our clients with these decisions and things all the time. And we're like, hey, don't walk from this deal, don't walk from this deal. Wait, you can do this. And we also do short sales too. Well, I do short sales as well too. So like we always look at the short sale option. And it's not the most fun option. Short sales are not fun, and they ding the seller's credit too. But subject to is definitely the first for me and everyone in my circle. That's pretty much it, JJ. And I just ran through this really quick, and even I digressed a little bit, but not as much as I usually do. So if you want to take it back to questions, that would be fine.
Calvert Ackland, you are on with Evelyn and Damien. What's your question?
I'm gonna switch my hat for a minute. I had the sub two hat, so I'm gonna put the gator hat on.
There you go.
So my question has a little bit less to do with what you presented with, but then with systems. So, technology is changing daily by the minute. How are you guys adopting and implementing AI in your processes?
Oh, well, we use AI every single day, but um I want to say like our long-term goals would be like putting like a lot of AI bots to answer questions on some of our procedures and some of our offerings where you can just like ask the bot like what's the price, like this is what I have as a deal. Like, what is the price for this? And hopefully the AI bot will answer that correctly. That's a long-term goal of ours, but we use ChatGPT for everything. And like I'm actually doing a workshop where I'm gonna go over how like we use it in our business and just for answering questions and how we're like, hey, what is the usury law for New York? What if I'm a person with an LLC and I'm lending on a commercial loan to a property that's owned in somebody's personal name. What is the usury law in that? Because there's like different levels and every state has different things. And like, what is the licensing requirements for a private money lender that's holding a note for, $500,000? And is there any, to look for any origination license or debt collection license, stuff like that. So and then we also like do it for like our posts. We throw that in Chat GPT and we say make this funny, make this more dramatic. Um, so Evelyn, maybe you can,
Well,
send some things.
I use it a lot for my marketing. Also I use it now, before I used to just say I'm not an attorney and I'm not a licensed CPA or agent or broker. And now I also include I am not Chat GPT. And I get, but here is what Chat GPT says. Um, and it's like I know the expectation on TCs that we are very knowledgeable, and a lot of people think that we know it all, and we don't. Like Damien's been in real estate for about what, 25 years now. We don't know it all. We constantly always have to find the source of finding the answers to your question. But surprisingly, most of the time that when we go to chat, it's just a confirmation of what we know. Surprising. That's what I have experienced so far. I'm like, oh wow, okay, so then I am right on what I'm advising. But I also do say I am not chat GPT. GPT.
I'll throw in one thing. So this is a little bit off topic, but I built an LOI blaster. If people know the LOI blaster, I built a LOI blaster clone in in three separate parts in about 10-15 minutes with ChatGPT. And I shared that with John McAllister, by the way. So if anyone's and I went over it with them. But like just So basically you're a software engineer, so you probably know, right? There's like the SMTP relay piece that would be in there, like a big piece of it. It actually like says like, okay, we recommend you to use this third party um SMTP relay, and then it gave you like a couple different options to do that. I'm a software engineer too, by the way. But it actually gave you third party software to link it together that, and like it didn't really it was having trouble writing the code like for the different things, but then I tried it again recently on something else, and it actually said, would you like me to give you samples of how to use these APIs to, collect this type of data. So it's getting better. And but I'm probably not using so I'm using ChatGPT for that. There's probably a better solution for that. There's so many AI apps that are coming out now. So
Awesome. Thank you again.
Rose, you're on with Damien and
Is that
Evelyn.
better?
Question.
So, which one do you use, Damien? Like, I don't really use ChatGPT. I mean, a little bit, like, if I go onto
yeah.
Google. So I'm like really bad at it, but I'm trying to get myself better at it. Is there one that you guys specifically use?
Well, I use ChatGPT the most because I have access to the Enterprise Edition and unlimited tokens. So,
Okay.
so that's why I use it. Um, But yeah, I've used other ones, and I didn't know we were gonna actually have this question, but I'm gonna do like a presentation of ChatGPT and stuff. But there's ones that are better for images and stuff. And I've used that. I can't remember which ones. The Adobe one is pretty good for generating images, and
Mhm. Okay.
but mostly
But just
ChatGPT.
for just maybe just not the images, just like to rewrite something. Is
Oh yeah,
see, I don't really use
I'm doing a
which one?
I'm doing a short sale right now, and
Uh-huh.
the seller hand wrote the hardship
Chip.
letter, and
Hmm.
I had her niece scan it and upload it to ChatGPT and ask it
Hmm.
to print out the contacts. It printed it out word for word, and then we played around with it, and we said like, make it more dramatic, make it a little longer. And then we actually said add in because she was missing some things. We just said like add in. Now this is over a Zoom, and I'm not hands on
Hmm.
camera, they are, right? And
Okay.
but it was pretty cool to take stuff that she wrote
Well,
and
yeah.
just took a picture of it, and then we uploaded it to ChatGPT, and it knew how to take out all the words.
You guys dropped a lot of value. I really want to thank you guys for everything you put up today. Just all the information and the cool part is you guys are reachable. I'm gonna ask, for those that are watching live time, we've got a couple of people on the call. They've asked how to get a hold of you. And obviously, if people want to get a hold of you guys weeks and months down the line watching on YouTube, I will ask, what is the best way to reach you guys?
The best way is through the website and book a time with Damien. On the website, it's anchorlighttc.com. Again, it's anchorlighttc.com. And you could definitely book a call with anyone in the team and Damien and myself as well.
There you go. You don't have any competition anywhere, no matter where you go. So, no, I really want to thank you guys. And now people have your contact info. Is there a phone number people might call, or just prefer them to go to the website?
Yes, it's 516-788-8881.
All right, can you repeat that one more time, please, for those that weren't ready?
Sure. 516-788-8881. And
Okay.
that's the team's number. Mhm.
And we'll be repeating that later on if you guys didn't get it that time. My last question for you guys, I've got a networking group. I'm always talking about the importance of networking, being visible, building relationships, letting people know who we are. There are a wide variety of real estate education programs on the landscape today. We know that there's over 50 in my group. People are joining these programs every single day who are brand new investors, experienced investors coming to these educational programs that have a Facebook page for their community. And a lot of these people are joining Facebook for the first time, or they're using Facebook as a business tool for the first time. For your opinion, for both of you, as I've met you guys through different groups, what is the importance of leveraging social media and networking to build one's visibility for the success of one's business? Evelyn?
It's everything. If you don't network, if you don't put yourself out there, how are you gonna make money? I mean, like we all have to eat, we all have to make money, and the best way to make money is through the people that you're making connections and becoming friends. Um, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, it's no brainer. Damien,
Yeah.
so to you.
Yeah. Yep. For me, like it's everything. Every time I put something out there, you get a response, and it just reminds people that you're looking for stuff. So like when I'm walking through like a really bad property in Philly, like I'll have my friends from Boston that don't know me as a real estate investor. They'll be like, dude, why are you buying this thing? What are you doing in there? But then I have the wholesalers who's like, oh, you're actually looking for stuff like this. I've got a deal for you. And you a lot of times whenever I post me walking through like a really bad condition house, there'll be like, one, two, three wholesalers that will reach out to me with other deals. And then also it's just keeping people aware that you're in the business, and it just reminds people that you're in the business too. And with just networking in general, it's like I was saying before, is like my phone just rings and texts come in for deals. I don't need to marketing anymore, because they just come in, and either it's a JV or sometimes it's like you can work this deal and just I want to learn from you and just pay me like $1,000 or whatever you can. Because like some of these deals are like the two that I presented, and they're really low, and a lot of times, like I was just on the phone today and I was like, would you take like a piece of the equity? We'll give you like an equity sharing note. You can tag on the back, and then when we burr out, you'll get like a percentage of equity, like 5%, 10%, or whatever it makes sense.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, so networking is really, really important.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah.
I also want to say is like you also have to stick what you're going to be consistent with. Like Damien loves answering people's question and helping them out. Um, I like to have like more educational little clips here with like I create them on Canva and little cute stuff like more branding stuff. Um, but that you have to really pick what you feel comfortable with and sharing and being consistent because consistency is really important. So I mean, like, you don't have to do everything that what everybody else is doing. Or if you see this person, it's like, oh my God, that person is so great in doing that. I want to do that. It may not be great for you. You have to pick what you are comfortable and can be consistent with.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Somebody called me the other Caleb. They're like, wait, I know you. You're the other Caleb. It's like I forget your name, but you're the other Caleb, because Caleb and I always answer the questions
Yeah.
in Sub 2 Facebook group.
Yeah.
And it's actually like really fun. It's like I don't do it as much as I used to. I like hang out more in the TC group now. But it's like I'll be there at like 3 in the morning. I'll wake up and I'll just go
Wow.
in and answer questions and contribute where I can and help people. And yeah, I kind of built a reputation around that. And people like especially like Pennsylvania, New York, like I'm always like messaging and trying to help them, and they're sort of like people think I'm from Philly because I answer all the Philly questions and I invest in Philly, like you know what I mean? They'll say, "Hey, Damien, I'm coming to Philly. Like I'd love to get a beer with you." I was like, dude, I'm like an hour and a half from Philly. I don't live near there."
There you go. Well, I really appreciate you guys' input. You guys have been fantastic today. Um, if you guys are watching on YouTube, don't forget if you want to get a hold of these two, the website is anchorlighttc.com. You can click the about button for information. You can just stay on the website. They've got some other things here you can look at, but go have a look at their webpage. So,
Yep.
and again, if you guys want to connect with me, scan the turquoise QR code. Please go to my website, jjazizian.com. Click the pulsating register now button. Please register. If you want to follow me on Instagram, here's my IG handle up here. And don't have my YouTube up there, so that's okay. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching today. Again, if you're watching us live, please look for these two on Instagram, look at their website. And if you're on the call, don't go away. Damien and Evelyn, we'll see everybody else back out in the world of virtual networking and social media, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, we will. See you guys soon. For on the call, guys, don't go away, all right? Over and out, everybody.